always think I'm going to be so good at awkward conversations, but I'm not. I'm just like everyone else. They're awkward. I remember trying to tell my eldest daughter about the facts of life and, well, one, she was just way too young, but some mother had said to me, oh, I told my daughter about the facts of life when she was 7, so I'm trying to tell my daughter about the facts of life when she's 7, and that was really awkward. I think I bailed. I don't even know why I brought that example up, because that was a prime example of wrong time, wrong place, daughter too young. Things, the timing sometimes just becomes apparent. Like, especially if an awkward conversation is like talking about dying, it will just sort of evolve because death is part of life and death comes up in the conversation all the time. In my life and in many people of my generation, we never talked about death and dying because my parents didn't. They'd probably seen a lot of it. And now I think we have to bring it back in and not to the conversation and not be afraid of it. My husband's very superstitious, so every time I talk about death, he's holding something wooden or turning in circles and jumping. No, he's not. But my kids are better at it, in fact. And plus we're older. I think it's more confronting when you're older. I think it's more confronting when you've had a few illnesses and you may have had some life-threatening illnesses, and I think that makes it harder. But ignoring it doesn't make it easier. That's what you learn. My mum is elderly. She's 91, and I always really thought we'd sort of had the conversation because she's been saying to me, Jean, you know, if I end up a vegetable, I want you to turn off the machine, turn off. She's been saying this since she was 40. I now realise it was probably menopause, but she has been saying this to me for decades, just turn off the machine. I'm not even sure which machine she had in mind, possibly the iron. But, you know, I thought we'd had this conversation, but then just a few weeks ago, Mum had a stroke, and she ended up in ICU and in the hospital. And really, I realised we didn't, and she can't speak, and she's lost her ability to speak and to move her right leg and her right hand, and now she can't express what she needs to express. If Mum had done the Dying to Talk discussion starter before this happened, it would have helped enormously everyone's pain. This would not have been near as painful, and it wouldn't have felt so difficult. The discussion starter was great because you can talk about, first, you can just talk about where you want to be at home or somewhere else, or whether you want to be in the sun or by the sea. They're really gentle ways to talk about. Do you want someone to read to you? That's so gentle. That's nice. Would you like music played? Would you like candles burning? Those are really lovely ways to start the conversation because they're just very human, and they're about our humanity and our love for each other. It's not about machines and things like that. It's a great way to start. My advice to anyone who wants to have this conversation and needs to have this conversation, you don't want to be lying in a hospital bed thinking nobody really knows what my wishes are. So even though it takes a lot of courage and you feel like you're cruel talking about dying, it's not. The discussion starter kit, just do with your family because it's interesting and it's not confrontational and you feel safe and it's not upsetting. It's actually great and uplifting. I think a regular conversation about your wishes and like an update is good. Like you'd have, if you have a, once a year medical checkup, I think that's a good time to say, I've had my medical checkup. This is what's going on. Good, bad, indifferent, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. And then sit down and be part of your health checkup, health and well-being. It's about well-being. It's about feeling good. Awkward conversations don't become comfortable necessarily when you talk about it, but you dispel the fear. They don't become, you lose the fear, and they still may be upsetting, and you may feel sad, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't have them.